مساء الخير عليكم كل الناس اللي بيتابعوا 24 قيراط. نحن وصلنا لتريند حلقتنا اليوم من البرنامج. يمكن يكون كلكم متابعين في الآونة الأخيرة الترشح لجائزة نوبل، ونتيجة الترشح كان في مجموعة من البرامج ومجموعة من الشخصيات اللي ترشحت لجائزة نوبل للسلام WFP أو برنامج الأغذية العالمي، كان من ضمن المرشحين وهو الفاز بجائزة نوبل للسلام في العام 2020. واليوم نتحدث عن WFP في السودان. ضيفنا داخل الاستوديو يعني هو السيد حميد نورو، هو مدير برنامج الأغذية العالمي في السودان. Mr. Hamid Nuru, Director of the WFP Sudan. Good evening.
Good evening. Very nice to be here. Thank you.
First, congratulations for the winning of the Nobel Prize. You know, as far as I know, it's the highest in the world. Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. I've taken off my mask, so you can see me smiling now from this side to that side.
It deserves it to have a smile. You know,
Thank you very much.
هنيناه بجائزة نوبل للسلام. And let's kicking off to the questions. My first question is, why do you think the WFP was nominated for the prize this year and won it?
Well, a lot has been going on in the world in the recent years, obviously. And for us in WFP, it's very deeply humbling, I must say, and it's a privilege to have received this prize this year. This is not a prize for food, it is a prize for peace. If you notice, it is a peace prize, Nobel Peace Prize. And this is very important because for the first time now, I think there's a very direct recognition to associate peace with hunger and food security. So WFP plays a very important role in this. Our motto, our mantra is saving lives, changing lives. Saving lives is giving people food that they need immediately, and changing lives is putting them on the path so that they can feed themselves for the future. And we do this to a very large extent all over the world. There are more than 680 million people worldwide who are in hunger right now, and WFP has been addressing all this at the same time. So I think this is a time now that really it has brought hunger to the forefront.
يعني سألنا السيد نورو عن إنه يعني لماذا يرى أن برنامج الأغذية العالمي تم ترشيحه لجائزة نوبل للسلام هذا العام، ولماذا فاز البرنامج بالجائزة. وهو يقول يعني العالم الآن يمر بالكثير من الأزمات الطاحنة اللي ضربت العديد من البلاد، وهم في برنامج الأغذية العالمي يعني يرون هذه الجائزة أنها ليست جائزة للطعام، وإنما هي جائزة للسلام. ما يقدمونه ليس الطعام وإنما يقدمون السلام. ويعني تحدث عن أن هناك يعني الأشخاص المعرضون للجوع، المعرضون للمجاعة في العالم يقدروا ب 680 مليون شخص حول العالم. فيعني بسبب المشاكل يعني التي دائما ما يخاطبها برنامج الأغذية العالمي، هو يعتقد يعني لهذا السبب ما يقدمونه من خدمات لمن هم يحتاجون إلى ذلك يعني بالفعل. وهو يقول أننا نعطيهم الطعام يعني لنطعمهم، وأيضا نغير حياتهم بأن يعني نضعهم في بداية الطريق للتغيير.
In 2018, there was a resolution passed by the United Nations. This was resolution 2417. And this was the very first time that the link between hunger and conflict was put on the table, where they see that hunger is a direct result into conflict and vice versa. And therefore peace will never, you can't have perfect peace unless you end hunger. So this is really a big thing for us. And may I also say lastly that this prize is not just for WFP in Sudan, it's WFP worldwide. We have 17,000 staff worldwide who are putting their lives on the line every day, reaching people with emergency rations, trying to help people to stay alive. So really we appreciate being given this honor, and Sudan is one of the biggest countries for WFP globally, and we're very proud. I've been called by the Chief of Staff from the Prime Minister's office, and also you've seen the Honorable Minister, His Excellency Prime Minister Hamdok has also tweeted and sent congratulatory messages to our Executive Director in headquarters. So it's really a very happy time for all of us.
أضاف إنه يعني هم من العام 2017 إلى العام 2020 أصبح واحد من أهداف برنامج الأغذية العالمي إن هم يعني وضعوا علاقة صلة مباشرة ما بين النزاع والجوع، أن الجوع قد يؤدي إلى نزاع، يعني يرون أنه من أهم موجبات السلام في أي دولة في العالم هو أن لا يكون هناك جوع، ويعني وهو يعني يرى أن الجائزة هي ليست لبرنامج الأغذية العالمي في السودان وإنما لكل البرنامج حول العالم. الاستاف أو فريق عمل برنامج الأغذية العالمي حول العالم يقدرون به 17,000، ومن هنا نبعث لهم التحايا جميعا. وأيضا تحدث عن أنه تلقى تهاني من الكثير من يعني المسؤولين داخل الحكومة، وأيضا من السيد رئيس الوزراء دكتور عبد الله حمدوك تلقى منه رسالة تهنئة بفوزهم بجائزة نوبل للسلام. So we'll go to the next questions. The issues or the programs that the WFP is working on right now in Sudan.
The programs, many people tend to associate WFP with only humanitarian response when you have an emergency. That is what we do best. That is what we always do. That is what we will always continue to do. However, our mandate as WFP is emergency or humanitarian as well as development. And this is where Sudan comes into play because there's a lot of development, excuse me, that we're also doing here. So I just want to be very clear that we do humanitarian to a great extent, but we also try to build in systems the building blocks so that Sudan can be self-sufficient, mostly in time to achieve zero hunger by 2020, which is in line with the SDGs.
يعني سألته إنه يعني ما هي الملفات التي يعمل عليها برنامج الأغذية العالمية في السودان الآن. هو يعني يقول أن برنامج الأغذية العالمي دائما يتحرك بالطوارئ عندما تكون هناك حالة طوارئ أو يعني هناك حوجة ملحة لمنطقة من المناطق. هكذا يعمل برنامج الأغذية العالمي، وهو يقول أننا لا نقدم فقط الدعم يعني أو نقدم فقط الطعام، وإنما نقوم بأعمال التنمية. فبرنامج الأغذية العالمي هو لا يقوم بالأعمال الإنسانية فقط وإنما أيضا يقوم بمشاريع تنموية. You would like to add something?
Yes. So in terms of our ongoing programs right now, we have, in terms of emergencies, it has become more exacerbated because of COVID, as you know already, and also because of the flooding. So some of the things that we routinely do, apart from these emergency situations, is that we routinely do school feeding. We feed about 1.3, last year we fed about 1.3 million school meals to kids in schools, primary schools, in 10 different states. This year we wanted to increase it by another 1 million, but because of the COVID and the floods, we couldn't do it. We also do nutrition programs, which are trying to address children under the age of 5 and pregnant women, breastfeeding women, giving them supplementary to try and stop malnutrition. We also do take-home ration, where we give people rations to take home, especially because the school feeding stopped during the lockdown. So we changed it now from school feeding because they were not coming to school. We are now giving them take-home ration to take home.
To home feed
them instead. We also do a lot of what is called GFD, general food distribution. General food distribution in IDP camps. We distribute to about 1.8 million people on a regular basis food for survival in many of the IDP camps. And we also do quite a bit in terms of cash-based transfers, where we transfer cash to people in the rural areas, mostly IDP camps. Roughly about $5 million every month is transferred, converted into SDG, and given to people now who need this cash.
How many families do you target it from the cash?
For the cash-based transfers right now, we have targeted, on average, we do about 800,000 families. 800,000 families, and on average, they get about, I think it's 2,500 SDG per family. So
most of them outside of Khartoum, or?
All of these are outside of Khartoum.
All of them
All
outside
of these
of
are outside of Khartoum,
right.
except for something that we will come to later, which is the Sudan Family Support Program, which we are starting in Khartoum.
Okay. Let's take it from here. You know, أنا سألته إنه يعني مواصلة لنفس الإجابة بتاعت السؤال، إنه ما هي الملفات التي يعمل عليها برنامج الأغذية العالمي. هو قال إنه دائما البرنامج بيتحرك بالطوارئ، ومعروف إنه في الآونة الأخيرة كان جائحة كورونا اللي ضربت البلاد ثم تلاها الفيضانات، يعني فيضان النيل اللي دمر العديد من المناطق. هي كانت دي واحدة من الطوارئ اللي بناء عليها بيعمل برنامج الأغذية العالمي، وبالفعل قدم مساعدات في فترة جائحة كورونا وفي فترة الفيضان. وأيضا بجانب الحالات بتاعت الطوارئ دي هم يعني روتين أو بصورة روتينية كانوا بيقدموا الدعم أو بيقدموا الطعام لعدد 1.3 مليون طالب في المدارس حول السودان. وعندما جاءت جائحة كورونا بدل عن توزيع الطعام في المدارس أصبحوا يوزعون الطعام في البيوت. وأيضا تحدث عن أنهم يعني يقدمون الطعام في العديد من معسكرات النازحين في مناطق النزاع. وختم يعني حديثه يعني أن هناك تحويل مالي مباشر للعديد من الأسر، قرابة 800 ألف أسرة. يعني قام برنامج الأغذية العالمي بتحويل أموال لديهم. هو يقول أن الميزانية شهريا تقدر ب5 ملايين دولار في السودان. يعني عندما سألته هل هذه العائلات يعني موجودة أو جزء منها موجود في الخرطوم، يقول أن كلها خارج الخرطوم. So we'll go to the next question. The evolution of the WFP since it came to Sudan, or since it started operating in Sudan.
This has been over a long number of years. I mean, we've been in Sudan since as far back as the 70s. You know, we've been here for quite a long time. And the evolution has started, I would say, from the humanitarian perspective, and now has been moving now towards the humanitarian combined with the development as well. Now, over the years, of course, you know, in the past, we've been still supporting. Sudan plays a very important role, not just in the country itself, but in the region. So we have WFP countries also around, like in South Sudan, in Eritrea, in Ethiopia. So it's a regional, because when you look at things like regional response to emergencies like droughts in the past, we've been very active in that. So the evolution really has been one of continuous support with the government to try to build the institutions so that the food security could be something which could be achieved by 2030.
يعني هو يعني يعتقد أن السودان يعني يقع في منطقة استراتيجية نسبة للدول المحيطة في السودان. يعني واحدة من يعني الأشياء التي ينشدها برنامج الأغذية العالمي هو يعني الاستدامة الطعام، يعني بصورة عامة استدامة يعني توفر الطعام في العديد من المناطق التي يعمل عليها البرنامج. Would like to add something else? Or?
Well, just to say that, you know, it's been particularly challenging in the last 2 years because of there has been a transition, of course, which is an excellent thing.
Yeah.
And now there's a new way of thinking. There's a new hope of anticipation that, you know, Sudan will move forward in terms of its food security. And the government, the current government, is looking towards how to see how we can really support in putting in place the building blocks for developing the agricultural sector, especially because that's where food security comes from. And also with the other UN agencies such as FAO, UNICEF and other players, you know, to try to see how we can develop a way forward, a strategic way forward. This is very important because we have what is called IPC. To make it short, it's a food security kind of like analysis. And what it has shown is that just 2 years ago, the people who were vulnerable to food insecurity was just less than 5 million.
Yeah.
Last year it was about 6.5 million. Now today it's 9.6 million. It has been increasing significantly.
So it has been increasing.
And this is why all the plans that we have to do now need to really address how we can overcome this through development and resilience kind of projects.
يعني التحدث عن واحدة من الأشياء هو تغير الحكومة ربما أدى إلى توقف بعض نشاطات برنامج الأغذية العالمي، ولكن هو كان تغيير إيجابي. ويعني هم يعني متفائلين جدا وهم ينشدون أن التغيير في السودان يعني سيعود بالكثير من الأشياء المفيدة للسودان، وأن الحكومة الانتقالية تترقب أو يعني هي متحمسة لأن ترى يعني كيف سيقدمون أو سيكونون جزءا من هذا التغيير والدعم الذي سيقدمونه ل يعني المشاكل التي تواجه السودان حاليا. وهو يعني تحدث بالأرقام أنه في السنة السابقة وفي السنة قبلها أن عدد الذين يعانون من نقص في الأغذية يتضاعفون يعني بمرور السنين. لذا يعني هم يرون أنه لا بد من معالجة المشكلة من جذورها بأن يتم توفير تنمية غذائية، أن يكون هناك يعني أمان غذائي في المناطق التي تعاني من نقص في الغذاء. Speaking of challenges, what are the challenges that faces the WFP in Sudan?
I think I can broadly classify the challenges into two criteria. You have what we call the natural or man-made or God-given challenges.
Yeah.
Of course, these will include things like the COVID, which has come now upon us, things like the floods as well, things like climate change, natural disasters, which we're seeing from time to time, and more frequently now than we have been seeing in the past. And I think also we have, I would say, maybe man-made challenges.
Yeah.
And these would include things like some of the bureaucratic things that we have challenges with, trying to get clearances and trying to move to areas. And then you also have physical challenges. For example, when we have the floods now, we cannot move these vehicles if there's flooding.
Yeah.
So we put in place strategies to try to think ahead, where, for example, for the flooding, as far back as February, March, we were already putting food in strategic areas around the country so that when the rains come and we don't have access, we already have
You
food
don't have
there.
to reach, yeah.
But now when the rains came, they came 100 times more than what we expected. So those food
It creates a
they
problem.
depleted.
Yeah.
And how to now bring now more with the floods, was becoming a very big issue for us. So COVID, yes. I think insecurity also is a big challenge, and this is why I think this the particular Nobel Prize we're getting right now is very important, because the challenges of insecurity in the country, where we have sporadic fighting here and there, how do we address some of these root causes of this, especially when it pertains to hunger? I don't know whether you're a musical man, but Bob Marley, in one of his famous songs, he said, "A hungry man is an angry man."
Yeah.
In one of his songs, and I think this is true, throughout the world.
Really, I don't have to be musical, like
Somebody
to
who
understand
is
Bob
hungry
Marley.
will always look, because you have to feed yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
two things we see in life, and this is a fact. Nobody wants to be poor, and nobody wants to be hungry. Hungry is not optional. If you don't eat, you will not survive, and therefore you have to react towards that. So these are some of the real big challenges that we're facing. Of course, the economy has been a big challenge as well, but that's not just here. It's globally. We have the global recession. But these are some of the kind of challenges that we're facing, and very difficult in terms of access to the people that we need to reach.
Yeah. Taking it from here, يعني أنا سألته إنه يعني ما هي التحديات التي يواجهها برنامج الأغذية في السودان. هو تحدث عن أن هناك نوعان من التحديات، تحديات طبيعية وتحديات يصنعها الإنسان. وبصورة عامة يعني الحديث عن التحديات الطبيعية، جائحة كورونا، ثم جاء بعدها الفيضان وتغير الأجواء بصورة عامة، هي أحيانا قد تعيق عمل البرنامج. وهي يعني هو تحدث عن أنه دائما ما في فترة الخريف يقوم برنامج الأغذية العالمي بتفكير مستقبلي أو تفكير مسبقي، بأن يقوم بتوزيع الطعام في مناطق استراتيجية معينة، بحيث عندما يأتي فصل الخريف يعني لا يضطرون إلى الذهاب إلى تلك المنطقة، وإنما هناك مخزن للأطعمة فقط يقومون بالتوزيع منه. ولكن هذا العام جاء الخريف أو جاء الفيضان بصورة أكبر بكثير يعني مما كانوا متوقعين، لذا يعني كان هذا عائق لبعض المشروعات التي يقومون بها. ويعني أيضا تحدث عن يعني برنامج الأغذية يعني العالمي، يعني هو يعني دائما ينشد التنمية في كل مكان، لأنهم يرون أن السلام مرتبط بتوفير الغذاء. وأيضا واحدة من المشاكل التي تواجه أو من التحديات التي تواجه البرنامج هو عدم الأمان، يعني أن هناك يعني الحروب هنا وهناك أيضا هي تعيق عمل البرنامج، أو أحيانا قد تكون مشكلة في يعني وصول الأغذية بصورة عامة. وأن جائزة نوبل للسلام جاءت في وقتها، لأنها هي رسالة لأن يعني السودان يحتاج إلى السلام، أننا يجب أن ننشر ثقافة السلام في السودان. وأيضا تحدث عن المشاكل التي قد تكون من صنع الإنسان أو من صنع الأشخاص، هي عادة تكون في الإجراءات التي يعني يضطرون، أو التصاديق التي يحتاجون إليها للحركة من مكان إلى آخر، والإجراءات التي يقومون بها أحيانا قد تكون معيقة. We'll go to the accomplishment through the years in Sudan.
So our accomplishments have been there a lot, obviously. So this year alone now we've reached about almost 6 million people in terms of giving them food and trying to support them. This is like double what we did last year.
5 million.
6 million.
6 million.
Yes,
sorry.
Actually 6.2 million so far. So this is almost double what we did last year.
Yeah.
And this was despite the fact that we had COVID ongoing. Again, we supported a lot towards the COVID itself. There was some packages of food that was distributed, and we supported the Ministry of Labor and Social Development. They were in the lead. It was their project, but we helped them with some of the logistics to try to package it and get it out, to needy families who are in lockdown here. We reached through them, of course, 300,000 families here. Some of the accomplishments so far in terms of the flooding, we are aiming to reach about 240,000 people. We have so far reached just over 100,000 as of last week.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to also see how we can increase that number as well. And like I said, we're doing the take-home rations for the school because the schools are still closed. So that's also, we have reached well over 500,000, 500,000 school kids now in that regard. So these are some of the immediate accomplishments that come to mind. There are a few other things as well, maybe I will let you.
All right. يعني سألت عن يعني ما قام به برنامج الأغذية العالمي، وهو تحدث عن يعني ما قدمه برنامج الأغذية العالمي في هذا العام. هو تحدث عن أنهم يعني قاموا بتوفير الطعام لحوالي 5 ملايين شخص أو 5.2 مليون شخص قدموا لهم الطعام. أيضا يعني قاموا بالوصول يعني لحوالي 200 ألف من الذين تضرروا من الفيضان، وأنهم ما زالوا يقدمون الدعم يعني للمتضررين من جائحة كورونا، وعدد 500 ألف طفل التي يعني أولئك الذين كان برنامج الأغذية العالمي يقدم لهم وجبة الإفطار في المدرسة بعد الجائحة. عندما توقفت المدارس أصبح البرنامج يقدم لهم يعني الطعام في بيوتهم. يعني هذه هي يعني الإنجازات الحالية التي قام بذكرها.
Some of the other things that we have also accomplished is in terms of the access, because we operate and we oversee the Humanitarian Air Services called UNHAS. This is a fleet of aircraft that helps to move humanitarian actors throughout the country, within the country, and also donors. Don't forget, all the money that we get, we're a voluntarily funded organization. All the money that we get comes from donors.
You have partners.
We have partners and we have donors who support us, And so this air services also helps to provide logistics and supply chain connections, okay, bringing in food and distributing it, within the country. And so far this year, we have transported over 8,500 passengers to about 40 different destinations in the countrywide, okay? And we have also moved well over 35 tons of food to different parts of the country as part of the accomplishments that we have had now for this year, which is quite a lot.
يعني هو تحدث عن أنهم يعني أصبحوا يعني يستخدمون أو يميلون إلى استخدام يعني الطيران بصورة عامة، هو لأنه يعني سريع الوصول، يعني التحركات داخل الدولة. يعني تحدث بالأرقام عن المناطق التي قاموا يعني بإيصال الأطعمة لها عن طريق الطيران بصورة عامة كده. Maybe like we have about 3 minutes before we like to close our conversation. I would like to ask a technical questions, because I've seen it during the flood problem. The WFP is offering a kind of food that is it's ready for the immediate use without preparing. And I've seen so many charity programs. I've seen so many charity organizations donating the wrong food, or they are giving the wrong kind of food. For example, giving macaroni to a family who doesn't have cooking gas, who doesn't have charcoals. I've seen that. Do the WFP put in consideration what kind of food they have to give depending on a certain area after studying it?
Yes. So this is part of our analysis. When there's an emergency, we go and do an overall analysis where we look at those kind of issues. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was here in Khartoum, and I went to some families who were in a school because their houses had collapsed in the floods, but they had no place to cook. So they had a classroom, and yet the kind of cooking firewood they were using was not ideal. So these are things that we take into consideration. So the food types are, we have what we call a general basket, which comprises of sorghum. It has lentils or pulses, which is your protein.
Yeah.
It has oil, cooking oil, and it has salt, fortified salt. This is a general package, but that you have to cook.
Yeah.
But we also have what they call ready-to-use supplementary, which is not a food per se, but it's like a food additive you just mix and then you give usually to the children or the the malnourished kind of children. And then we also have things like biscuits. So we have different types which we apply in different kind of scenarios depending on what the scenario is. Yes, but you are 100% right on that.
يعني أنا سألت السؤال كده يمكن يكون هو سؤال تقني لأنه شفنا في يعني في يمكن يكون في الفيضان اللي في الفترة الأخيرة كان في يعني دائما هو القصد خير في الموضوع، لكن في مجموعة كان من الجمعيات اللي بتقدم معونات للمناطق اللي أثرت في الفيضانات، بتقدم أنواع أكل هي صعبة الطبخ أو أحيانا قد تكون غير مفيدة للأسرة، لكن برنامج الأغذية العالمي كان يعني دائما بيقدم أطعمة يعني تعتمد على مدى يعني قدرتك على أنك أنت هل تستطيع أن تطبخ، هل تحتاج إلى أطعمة هي جاهزة فقط يعني للأكل، يعني أنهم يقدمون الطعام بعد دراسة المنطقة أو بعد أن يقوموا بدراسة المنطقة التي يريدون أن يعملون بها. This is يعني really very big congratulations and thank you so much for the good work that you are doing through the WFP in all over the world, and congratulations for the Nobel Prize.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Inshallah. The future is very good for Sudan, inshallah. We hope for the best. The family support program has now kicked in as part of the government response, and we are a part of that together with the World Bank. But we need to scale up, and we also need to concentrate on agriculture development in this country. How do we improve the agriculture? You have the three ingredients. The land is there, the water is there, and 68% of the population is involved directly in agriculture. How do we harness that to push Sudan to become a global, a regional basket for food security in the region? WFP is with you on this, and inshallah we make dua that it comes well for us.
inshallah. يعني هو قال أن المستقبل يعني جيد للسودان، وأنهم يعني سيعملون أو يعني سيقدمون كل جهدهم لأن يدعموا السودان، وأنه يجب التركيز على الجانب الزراعي لأن الأرض موجودة والماء موجود، وحوالي 68% من سكان السودان هم يعني يعملون في الجوانب الزراعية، فكل الموضوع محتاج لإدارة، وهو يتمنى أن السودان يعني يكون من الدول أو المناطق من الدول النامية قريبا. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, فريد. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you again soon. But not in the studio. We should be in the field there, where we are taking. You see what we are doing physically in the field.
Always ready, inshallah. Always ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
بعد الفصل حيكون في أخبار السوشيال ميديا، خليكم متابعين.